you know me, I don't always love to make guesses and speculation based on theories. I think of data more. I like to see people try things and then see how it goes. But at the same time, I am an absolute info junkie nerd, and I have been doing some trend studying, and I have been reading the latest articles. And I do know a lot about culture and how culture tends to move people towards certain actions. So here we are today. I, Janeen Ippolito of Author Culture, am going to be giving you 7 of my thoughts, theories, expectations, predictions for the year of 2025, especially in the science fiction and fantasy worlds. And one of the things that I'm going to be doing is trying to be a little more specific about where I see these tropes or these trends happening and where I think they're not going to have as much impact. So if you would like some ideas and speculation and predictions about what might be happening in 2025 in the science fiction and fantasy publishing world, you are in the right place, and I am super excited you're here. So let's dive right in. All right, without further ado, one thing that I am seeing that I've commented on over the years in various ways is that AI is going to be more ubiquitous and people are going to trust it way more than they should because, number one, it's easy. And people will say, well, we don't have time to do more. So they're going to be relying on AI to be that time for them. And here's the thing. One of the most concerning things I've seen about the rise of AI is that people are using it more and more to do their thinking for them. Now, are there ways that you can use AI prompts and techniques that you can use them with your own existing content to make it easier? Sure, you can. And I will openly say that the platform I use to record my podcast on, Riverside, uses AI to make transcriptions of my episodes. But guess what? I'm making that content. I am creating those scripts and those episodes, and the more effectively I create my scripts and follow them, which doesn't always happen, but the more that I do that, the easier it is for the AI assistant to create a transcript of it. So things like that, assistive AI, are one thing, but people are going to be using more and more of generative AI because they feel overwhelmed, and this is going to continue in the publishing industry as well. I think one of the reasons behind this, and I'm trying to be sympathetic to this, is that people are feeling information overload and perceived overload because literally social media is trying to overload people's brains so that they buy things with ads. This is not overload that's coming from nowhere. There are businesses that are profiting off that overload so that they can get people to buy more things. There's nothing illegal about that. We can discuss the ethical implications of that, but legally there's nothing wrong with it. You can't sue someone for information overload, at least as far as I'm aware. I'm not a lawyer, so this is not legal advice. So with that being said, AI is going to be more ubiquitous and people are going to be trusting it way more. They already are trusting it way more than they should, but they're going to be trusting it even more. The culture is just going that way. People like things that are easy. People like things that make them feel like they can get more done in less time, and AI often does that. And so that's going to be more of a cultural drift. There will be plenty of people who protest that and plenty of people who offer alternatives, but it's going to keep happening. And it'll be interesting to see how it goes because there are already situations where their ability to critically think through matters is getting a little bit weaker because they're relying more on AI to sift through all the information overload. My suggestion with this for all of you authors is resist the information overload. Stop it at the source. Put blinders on, take in the information that you need when you need it, and make sure that you don't buy into the whole hype that you have to do things super fast and super quickly. Push against the trends and give yourself time to think and process through things. Don't let a computer do it for you. Your brain is one of the most amazing things about you, no matter how you may feel about it, no matter if you're listening to this and you're feeling like your brain is super tired. I don't have much of it. Give yourself the time to process and think through things yourself. Don't get swept up in anyone's attempt to use information overload to push you into doing things that aren't the best for you, to adopting tropes or trends that don't make sense for you. Dig your heels in, take time to think. All right. Number 2, because of the use of AI and a pushback, there is going to be even more of the rise of the personal brand. And this is kind of in protest of the rise of the machines. People are going to be doing more to show that they are actually human and not bots, because bots are going to be more pervasive than ever. So with that comes the rise of the personal brand and the face on things, and I think even being less glossy and more relatable is going to be a big trend on social media platforms. Ways that you can show that you're a bit of your rough edges, ways that you can show that you are definitely your own unique self will be a pushback against AI. Now, here's the thing. There's still a strategy on what you show and how you are authentic. So it's not as easy as just showing up in your bathrobe and your pajamas and your hair undone and being like, look at me, I'm being authentic. You can do that if you want to. I'm not going to stop you, but it's going to be more strategic than that. It always is. Whenever you see a brand where people are showing up like, I just woke up this way. Even if they did just wake up that way, they're still making deliberate choices in how they show up. That's just strategy. But there is going to be a push towards the rise of the personal brand in contrast to AI. And that's going to take in authors as well, especially female authors. Guys are a bit of a different game. Trying to reach the male audience is still a different game than the female audience. But even in there, the more that you can kind of prove that you are indeed human is going to be a big asset. So awesome humans keep being human in awesome ethical ways. All right. The third thing that I am seeing that I predict is going to continue is there is going to be a more variety of direct sales, and that's going to become a little more decentralized. So there was the rise of the Kickstarter and crowdfunding campaigns, and that's been happening over the last couple of years, and even farther back than that, but it really hit home, especially in the last couple of years, and popularized. But now there's things like BackerKit, and there are other ways to crowdfund, and different online commerce sites are trying to find ways to almost compete with Kickstarter by allowing people to do different kinds of pre-launches and those things through them. So Kickstarters are still going to be a thing. They're going to get more complicated. You're going to have to do more work to stand out there because people are starting to do them more, and there's more available knowledge. So you might hit a bit of saturation in that. And you're going to see more creative uses of direct sales in general. Kickstarters are a kind of direct sales system, but you're going to see other direct sales strategies as well. Basically ways people can continue to create that sort of personal connection with readers and sell their books and create that unique experience. And again, adding that sort of humanity to it instead of just clicking a button and buying an ebook online, although that's certainly still a thing. So Kickstarters are still a thing, but there's going to be more competition. People are going to be getting more clever with different strategies to launch books, and they're going to incorporate direct sales in that as well. Direct sales will still continue to be a thing. That is not to say that Kindle Unlimited won't be a thing, because Kindle Unlimited is a very attractive option. People do not have a lot of money for what they consider commodities, and fiction books, especially science fiction and fantasy books, are often considered commodities. So you're still going to have popularity of Kindle Unlimited, but you're also going to have a rising popularity of direct sales and Kickstarters as well. I think that the overall sales environment is just going to keep widening and getting broader and more complicated. So make sure that you are thinking about how you're going to use whichever system or strategy you are using and that it works for you in your book. All right. Now, number 4. And this one is just something I've particularly seen in the female market, especially YA and those kind of things. But I think it also does bear opinion in the male market. I just think it shows up differently under different kinds of methods and modes. And that's going to be tribalism has been tropified. So when you're talking about tribalism, there was this big thing. It started back in 2010, 2011, where, what's your tribe? Building a tribe, building a fan base, building all these people who love your stuff because they love you, because they love your message. It's a very message-based kind of concept. What's your tribe? People are looking for that inner circle of super fans that are going to buy from you. Publishers are very interested in this, building your tribe, etc. What I've seen more and more is that this tribalism is often being tropified. Certain tropes will have tribes built around them. I've seen authors who say, well, I only write these kind of books. I only write books with enemies to lovers. And so that trope becomes part of the indicative of their tribe itself. And so they're saying, if you want to become part of my tribe, then you are going to like enemies to lovers as well, because that's what I like. So now this tribalism element isn't just based on the author because I love the author's books. It's based on exactly which tropes the author is promising to deliver. So I thought that was pretty interesting. This isn't a new thing. Like, you do see authors in other decades who are known by writing certain specific kinds of books that have certain specific tropes in them. And then that's how you develop pen names based around different content you're going to have in books. But I'm seeing it in interesting ways online because it's becoming a strong way that people cross-promote. They're strongly building up, bringing their tribes together around certain tropes and creating multi-author projects around certain tropes. And especially among female authors, this kind of shifting community of cross-promotion is definitely a thing, but it's definitely really, really getting congealed for lack of a better term, around tropes. And with that, content rating inclusion and exclusion is also more of a thing because it's an easy way to sell books and an easy way for authors to cross-promote. So what you're going to see also, this is number 5, ties into number 4 about tribalism has been tropified. Prediction number 5 is that you are going to see more polarization and more tribalism around what content you include and exclude from your books. This is a very pragmatic way of doing it. It's similar to how I'm not going to say an R movie because I just don't want that kind of content. So it doesn't matter if it's an amazing R movie, I'm not going to do it. You're going to see that in books. So people are like, this book is going to include these things or exclude these things. And therefore you want to become part of this tribe. And it's an easy way for authors to cross-promote that avoids politics, religious beliefs, or other sticky categories, because you can all be one big happy family around the fact that you don't include this kind of sexual content, or you don't include these swear words, or you do include these violent action scenes. And anyone who just chooses to include or exclude is suddenly part of the group without having to know anything else about the authors. They don't have to agree about anything else. They can just purely band together based on their content exclusion or inclusion. It's a great way to build a really big tribe of cross-promotion. And I've seen that happen, and I think it's going to continue to happen because in a world, again, that is full of information and information overload, any way that you can simplify things, both on the author marketing side and on the reader book buying side, is going to be welcome. So you're going to see content rating inclusion and exclusion be more of a broad thing, even outside of the usual categories of parents who are looking for books for children or people who are looking for books that align with their specific ethical beliefs. You're going to just see this getting broader. All right. Now, I've talked a fair amount about things that really involve more female authors than male authors here, because if you're a male author writing for a male audience, things do look differently. And since I do work with a number of male author clients, one thing that I'm going to encourage you to continue to do is to show up. That is going to be even more important for male authors in 2025. And it is hard to figure out how to show up in a market that is very saturated by a lot of female authors. And I'm just saying this objectively. I'm not saying if it's a good or bad thing here, but show up, know who you're writing to, and keep reliably connecting to them in the ways that you can. A lot of other media is targeting male readers, especially of science fiction and fantasy. They're often gamers or board gamers, or they're involved in watching movies or taking in different kinds of media. And so any way that you can create some kind of gamification excitement around your book is going to help you to connect with those male readers. You need to figure out ways to bring them into your world and build it out in terms of gamification, in terms of engagement with the story world outside of the book, creating additional resources, ways that they can connect with others through doing things, through going on quests together, or those kind of things. That's really going to help you to sell your book. So if you are a male author, you need to be thinking about who you're reaching. You need to keep showing up. It's going to be a little different. I understand that. That's why I offer specific strategies for reaching a male audience. It is different. And one of the perks I have with that is, again, my husband works with a lot of teen boys, and he's in fact a geeky guy who likes to read, but also loves to game and watch movies and those things. So I pull from the market's research that I can do. And you're going to want to make sure that you're doing that work yourself and that you are connecting with other male authors to connect to that audience. And never forget that the buyers of your books are not always the readers of your books. Sometimes it is. There is a whole subculture of female readers who really, really, really love reading books by male authors about male protagonists. It's a thing for them. Like they just want male protagonists all the time. But a lot of times it's going to be wives or moms or aunts or grandmas who are buying books for this guy in their life that they don't know what he likes or they're not sure what he's interested in. So the gamification element can help you build a tribe with your male readers, but you also want to think about how to reach those community-driven book buying women who need to buy something for the male reader in their life, or to, something that can augment the game that he's playing or can interest the young boy who isn't interested in reading, all of that stuff. So male authors, show up, do your research, and find ways to do those kind of cross promotions with gamification and things and reaching those audiences. It is trickier for you, but I believe in the dream when you have great books. So get them out there. Prediction number 6 here is that margins are going to be trickier to manage. So if you're thinking about doing this author life thing in terms of creating books that you can sell and at least break even, don't go into debt, and then make some kind of profit on them and maybe even go full time. If you're going to be doing that, it's going to be trickier to keep your costs down and increase that margin of profit that you have there. Some people are going to be using AI to create that profit margin. I am not talking about whether this is a good or bad thing. I am simply stating the obvious. As I mentioned earlier, people are looking for easier ways to create these stories, and they're looking for easier ways to increase that margin. So you're going to need to figure out ways that you can manage your cost to keep breaking even. And that really ties into things like the popularity of Kickstarters and direct sales, because you're getting more of the money yourself. You're not giving it to Amazon or a third-party distribution network or platform. So because of that, those things are going to be more attractive. Now, maybe the economy will change and people will have a little more money for commodity goods. But right now you're having to convince people a little more to buy things. So because of that, and that's even things they really, really want. I'm assuming that these are people who already are predisposed to buy your book and they're still, kind of on the edge. So because of that, you're going to have to get more creative with those things. And it's going to be a little more tricky. It doesn't mean that you can't succeed. It doesn't mean that you can't do well. But be mindful of how much you're spending on your editing and publishing materials, things like cover design, all of that. Definitely invest in it and definitely invest wisely in it in a way that makes sense for you. But also understand that I think for a bit, the margins are going to get thinner and you're going to have to get more creative about increasing those profit margins. And so make sure that you get out those spreadsheets and crunch a few numbers and do what you can to ethically increase the profit margin. So at least you're breaking even. I would love you to break even out there, if not to get some profit out of what you're doing, even if you're not writing directly to market. Okay? It's always nice to have a little bit of extra income from things, or at the very least, to not look at your writing and go, why I'm so much in the red. Now, if you're the kind of person that doesn't bother you, that's totally fine. But this is just the place where we're living in right now. And if you want to increase those margins, you're going to have to think of fancier ways to encourage people to buy, add-ons, increase in different kinds of revenue streams, publishing your book in different formats, doing cross promotions, in-person sales. People are always willing to spend more in person if they can hold a book in their hand and meet the author. So think about these different ways that you can increase your margins. And now on to number 7. My prediction is that we're going to see some kind of different model emerge. Maybe it'll be a different kind of small press. Maybe it'll be the rise of author collectives where different authors are coming together to trade services or at least to cross-promote together. Maybe we'll see more organized versions of multi-author projects and different publishing houses emerging to cater specifically to multi-author projects. it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the business side, and especially the collective business side of the publishing world versus individual self-publishing authors who sort of work as their own sole proprietors. I'm still keeping an eye on this. I spent some time Googling and doing research and trying to figure out what's the next thing. With seeing small presses have to get shut down, with having to shut down my own publishing house, I've been looking to see what's next. And so far, nothing in particular is sticking out to me. What I'm seeing more is innovative ways that authors are coming together to create little short-term business collaborations, multi-author projects, joint anthologies that cross over different story worlds to encourage readers to check out the different story worlds as they come together, people trading services, things like that. I'm not seeing anything that's replacing this ongoing publishing model of acquiring the book and then publishing it and hoping it makes the money back, which is the traditional model is very high risk on the behalf of the publishing house. Very high risk. So I'm not really seeing something new for that that's going to be more long-term. I'm seeing a lot of short-term endeavors, and that might be the way of things in the near future. We might be more of, not seeing small presses rise up all the time. I mean, they certainly can. And there are small presses that definitely operate in specific niches that are doing well. If you're one of the people who is with that kind of small press, hats off to you. You're doing great. I'm also seeing small presses that definitely work on kind of a very small boutique basis. That can work well too. Other than that, I'm not seeing the rise of a lot of new small presses. So I'll be very interested to see what's going to come out of it, or whether that phase in life, that boom of small presses that kind of happened from 2008, 2009 to 2021 or 22 when COVID kind of slammed the economy. I'll be interested to see if that was just a phase or an era in the publishing industry, and now people just are doing more short-term business collaborations versus long-term commitments or long-term business collaborations or even incorporations. So if you have any ideas about that, please share them, because it was interesting to see that kind of gap in the market. Okay, so I'm rounding up my predictions for 2025. Number 1, AI is going to be more ubiquitous and people are going to trust it way more than they should and use it in a lot of different ways. 2, you're going to see the rise of the personal brand in response to the rise of the machines, and you're going to see people more and more wanting to show up as themselves to kind of push back against all of the artificial. 3, Kickstarters are still a thing, as is direct sales, but everything's getting complicated and crowded and a little bit saturated, so you're going to have to do different things to stand out. 4, tribalism has been tropified. And so the idea of building your tribe is not simply just around yourself or your books. It can often be on the specific content of your books and people coming just for that particular kind of content. Going into that, number 5, content rating inclusion and exclusion is going to be more of a thing, because what you choose to include in your books or exclude is a way that you can cross-promote with others without having to get into politics or religious beliefs or other sticky categories. You can just simply say, my book does or does not have this, and you can work with other authors. Number 6, you are going to see a little more difficulty in hitting your margins, and you're going to have to get more creative about keeping your profit margins in line. And 7 is more of a question. What do you guys think is going to be the next kind of business model for small presses and for any kind of collaborative publishing? Where is it going? Or is it just going to be something where you have these short-term collaborations based on multi-author projects or anthologies or group Kickstarters, and the whole idea of people coming together and incorporating or starting new small businesses together for the purposes of publishing books is over? We're not doing that anymore. What do you think? I would love to hear your thoughts in a comment on social media, on Substack, or on YouTube. So please do give me a shout out. And if you haven't already, do subscribe to Author Culture and hop over to our wonderful membership on Ko-fi, where you can join the fantastic Epic Otter Alliance and support the show and get some fun swag for rewards. This is Janeen Ippolito of Author Culture. Go forth and be awesome.